Hi all, I'm Cullen Haynes and welcome to Law Live. My next guest, you are definitely in for a treat because she is a true powerhouse, broadcasting all the way from Canberra, from Blackburn Chambers. It's Anca Costin, citizen of the world, having been to over 40 countries and current practicing barrister. Please make her feel very welcome. Anca, it's great to have you on Law Live.
Hello, I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. And I will remind everyone, because it's very rare that you get to have Anca in this space. It is now 4:28 on Wednesday, the 5th of October. We are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Please put your questions in, keep them evergreen so Anca can answer them. And if it's anything more specific related to what Anca does, I'm sure she'd welcome a DM directly. So thank you. But the question on everyone's minds, what is happening in your world at the moment, Anca?
Well, Cullen, there's always something happening in my world, and usually a lot is happening in my world. Given that I am most of all a mother of young children, but also a barrister who's very busy all the time. So I'm trying to do many things constantly, and people who know me would be able to tell you that. But I'm enjoying it. That's the most important part.
Oh, very good, very good. And in terms of, is there any projects that you're busy working on at the moment?
Well, I've been in mediation today, in one yesterday, and I'm in hearings starting with tomorrow until next Friday, with a day off on Wednesday when I have a conference in a different manner. But other than that, I do have a few other, if I can call them projects, by speaking at a number of events. I'm always presenting a seminar here and there and everywhere. I'm still mentoring young solicitors or students, law students in general. So there's many things that are always happening in my world, and I like to keep busy because I am of the view that that's enables me to perform probably at my highest when I am busy. I feel that when I'm not at 100% level, or probably sometimes above that, sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, and I'm always looking for other things to do in my spare time. So that's why I get involved in so many things. And one of them is, of course, you inviting me here today, and I'm very pleased to be able to do so.
No, and you got such a wealth of knowledge and experience, and you've got on your website that you've been to over 40 countries. So you're quite worldly there, Anca. How do you think that shaped? How do you think that shaped you to date?
Well, I think the simple fact that I come to the bar from a diverse background, that I am able, of course, I believe to speak English quite well as another language, which is Romanian, given my background. It helps me probably think in different ways, sometimes probably more outside the box than otherwise. But traveling has given me such a view of the world that I think it has opened my mind in so many ways. And I think I'm able to relate to people from different backgrounds purely because I've been to so many countries and visited places where some, in some countries, people are not as fortunate as we are in Australia. And I'm able to relate and understand that background. And sometimes in matters that I do, that is an advantage without a doubt.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think that background is what motivates you? Because you're very busy at the bar. What keeps you going and what motivates you?
I think the main thing that motivates me is to thinking that I can make a difference in somebody's life, hopefully for the positive. And my clients' successes. If my clients reach success, I think I can be successful. And for me, it's very important to be successful in whatever I do. Whether it's the bar, whether it's my private life with my family, with my children, my husband. Success is definitely something that I strive for. Of course, sometimes it's hard to achieve it, or to achieve it at the level that's one might wish. But it's something that's definitely drives me. So I'm always, in a way, looking forward to what might come up, and always, again, looking forward to whatever opportunities may be, either for myself or my clients or my chambers. So again, who knows me would be able to tell you that I'm definitely a person that can't stay still.
No.
More than anything, I'm at the point that I can't even watch movies, and it's been probably going on for more than a decade now that I probably watch, I don't know, 3 to 4 movies in a year if I'm lucky. So and I think it's also given to the fact that my mind is always so busy with so many things that I feel like my time can be better spent on doing other things.
Would you say, I think I've got that same, I don't want to say illness, but the same kind of thing going on. I can't sit still. I think I've got undiagnosed ADHD.
There would be nothing wrong if that would be the case. But for me, more than anything, I just like to have things done. I always have a to-do list. I always make sure I follow it. I always make sure that I keep my promises, either to my clients, my family, or my friends. And I just keep going. For me, there is there's no stop even on holidays. It's I just feel there's so much to be done that I just purely can't stop. So.
No, I love that. It sounds like you're the same person at the bar and in your personal and social and family life. Is that right,
Yes.
Anca? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, okay. Would definitely be right. My husband would know very well, even if we have to buy furniture or anything like that. It's all a tick box thing. And one of the things that I always like to tell as a joke, but it's actually a real thing. I was booked to have my child deliver, my second child, by way of cesarean, and it was booked at 11 o'clock. And I needed to buy a new car because my car was damaged a week before by hail. And I said to my husband, look, we have between dropping the older kid to school at 9 o'clock and having the next child at 11, we have 2 hours, and went and bought a car in the meantime because there was a 2-hour space that I could actually fit in to make sure I have a child at the right time. So knowing that after that I couldn't drive for around 6 weeks, people find it music. For me, it's just another example in how my life works and how organized I am. So, and I think that's one thing that, in a way, I am somehow successful in my life because I am able to make sure everything that I plan for happens, and it doesn't happen without putting a lot of effort, but also making sure that I'm well organized in order to that effort to be displayed at some point in time when it's needed.
No, I love that. Well, Athol, one of your Chambers colleagues, says Anca is a fabulous Chambers colleague. So you've already got some fans attesting to this, Anca. Very good. Thank you, Athol. And he's a gentleman and a scholar. But like, you talked about your young children. How do you balance a busy practice with having young children and family life?
Well, probably not always balancing. Balancing as much as I can. So there are days probably better than others. One of the things I always try to make sure is that I'm home by dinner time, and I'm home with the children by the time they go to bed. But I probably work almost every night, except I usually try not to work Saturdays if I can. But I am more inclined to believe that quality rather than quantity in terms of the time spent with the children. And my children and my family do understand that my profession is just as important as they are. And when I have more time to spend with them, definitely it's all about them. But when there's a very busy period of time when I'm in hearings, again, they understand that mom has work to do once they go to bed, and as well as my husband does. So I have their full support. But as I said, sometimes it's hard. It's not always a balance. It's not a fine balance, but it's a work in progress. And I think all barristers probably will tell you the same thing.
Yeah. Do you have to explain it in another way? Because obviously it's very clear to an adult, but is there a way you explain to a child what you have to do and why you're doing it?
Well, I do, but I think my children by now have understood that. My children are 6 and almost 11. So the 6-year-old understood from a very young age that mom goes and does mediations in court, and sometimes she would play doing mediation herself. But they do understand that the work that I do, it's important to some degree, and also it's important to be dedicated, and the fact that you just purely can't let other people down that rely on you. And I think it's important from a young age for children to understand that we all have to make sure the role that we play within the society, we do it well, and we dedicate ourselves to others as well as our families, because it's life at the bar, I think at some point becomes more about others than yourself. It's very important, at least in my perspective, to be dedicated. The cause that you are running or working towards, it's always worthwhile, no matter who the client is, or the background, or the case, or the stake of the case. You always have to make sure that for that particular client, you are the only client that I would have at any given time. I don't like the clients who ever feel that I have a very busy list and they are somewhere down below.
They're like a number.
That's right. And they always have to feel that they are the most important people for me when I am working on their case. And it's the same thing that I try to tell my children, and hopefully inspire them later on in life to understand that you do need to put a lot of dedication in whatever you choose to do in life. So you can't do it halfway. You have to make sure that you give your best when time is needed.
No, I love that concept. I think Jim Rohn talked about that. If you're going to go into work, leave home at home and go 100% in and give your full attention to the person in front of you. And then when you're on holiday, don't bring your work along. Go 100% in on your family. Like, obviously got to do it sometimes, but I think someone else told me this. It was like a jeweler. His name's Gary in the Four Seasons. I think he's still there. He says, the reason why I've been so successful, Cullen, is whoever I'm dealing with, I'm just 100% with that person, and I don't think about anyone else. Don't look at my phone, and they feel that they are the most important person in the room. And it sounds to me that that's how you carry your own life with people.
That's right. I at least I strive to do that. I hope I'm able to do so, because I hate the words of saying, I'm very busy, I don't have time. These are words I don't like to ever say that. But most of all, I don't like my clients to hear me ever saying that, because for them, I should not be busy. I should be 100% on what their matter is about and make sure that I'm across that. So it's probably not always that easy, because, of course, we do have busy practices, but we have to have that in the back of our mind, that particular client for them is the most important matter they will ever have, because especially if we represent individuals rather than corporation, businesses, government, we have to understand that for that client, they will never have, probably the chance of having two litigious matters in their life is quite low. So it's probably once in a lifetime event. So we have to make sure that we are well prepared for them, and they know what is expected and what might happen in the future in their case.
Oh, no, it sounds like you got to be, like, being a busy person, very organized, only having one matter at a time. Like, does that mean when a matter is about to finish, you then segue into the next one? How do you, like, obviously work is coming to you. How do you balance that?
Yeah, I have at any given time many matters,
yes.
Quite a few. But the question is, when you prepare for that particular matter, either the solicitor or the client do not feel that you have your mind turn towards other matters rather than their case. And again, I have a practice of answering all my emails the same day. It doesn't matter what time, doesn't matter I'm in court. If I can't answer them that night, I will wake up early before the next day in court, and I will make sure I answer all the emails. One of the reasons is that, of course, sometimes I would forget, but also it's important for, again, client, solicitor to understand that I am available as much as possible. And sometimes, of course, it's difficult. But in general, I want to make sure that happens.
No, I think that's great. It's the sundowner rule, I think. Answer all emails the same day, phone calls within 2 hours, and at least all text, and you feel fresh for the next day. It's a great concept.
That's right. Yeah, I don't like to go to bed thinking I have tasks that have been on my list and that are undone, or that I might have missed an email. Sometimes it happens, but it's very rare when that happens. Because, again, I try to stay on top of the workers, especially at the bar. I feel like if you are not well planned, or you don't plan your practice very well, you find yourself in a point that if new matters are given to you, you will not have the space to fit them in, because sometimes you might not have been able to finish other tasks that probably you could have within the time frame that you had to. Again, it requires a lot of work and many hours every day, probably more than the usual 8-9 hours a day. But it's achievable.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, from my perspective, if it gives you pleasure and you are happy still doing that, that's the most important thing. One of the things that I've heard, and for a while was happening to me, but probably I wasn't aware of it, was that sometimes if you do a lot of, or your work involves what you love most doing, you never feel burnt out. You never feel like you really need a holiday. You go and travel and relax for other purposes rather than recharge, because your work never drains you. The work is there to embellish in a way your own persona, your own personality and characteristics, rather than draining you from energy. So that's kind of, once I heard it explained by a psychologist, actually a Romanian psychologist, I thought, that explains. I'm always full of beans. I'm always full of energy, and I was always wondering how come. And I was, others were telling me, be aware of burnout, be aware of burnout at the bar, make sure it doesn't happen. And so far, so good. I'm still happy doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely. I'm trying to touch some wood. I've got a table here. I'm touching wood for you, Anca.
Look. I don't believe in spells and all sorts of things. I just believe in, we can shape our own future however we want. And, one of the things that, again, because I said earlier, I mentor women or not only women, but in general, women and women from a diverse background, is to show that even people that come from a different background like me, speaking with an accent, we can still make it and be successful in a career where language is the only tool that we have at the bar, is the only service that we provide, is our thinking, our strategic mind, and of course our language. For me, I've never felt that speaking with an accent would be a barrier. And sometimes probably a benefit, because people do remember you easily, a lot more easier than otherwise.
No, I love that. It's almost like your calling card in a way, and it makes you sound very worldly and whatnot. Do you ever find you get to maybe hide behind it if in case you get a word wrong? You say, "Oh, that's because in Romanian it actually means this." You can actually say it means something else.
No, not necessarily, but sometimes if I'm tired, the brain does play a few tricks on me, and sometimes probably it's harder to concentrate. But I thought many times, because I have a law degree from Romania, and I thought many times, how would I be if I were to practice in Romania? And I think I would struggle, because my legal vocabulary obviously is not as probably as good as is my English one, because I haven't practiced in Romania or I haven't even lived in Romania for quite some time now, almost 15 years. So I think I am here to stay at the bar in Australia, in the ACT, not going anywhere.
Please don't go anywhere, Anca. My goodness.
Not
oh my goodness. I think I was the unofficial ambassador of Romania in my hometown of Albury. I used to drive up and down Dean Street of a Saturday evening playing a song called Numa Numa by Ozone, Dragostea Dinte, which I don't know if they're a famous Romanian band, but that song is definitely one of my favorites.
It is. It's or was famous in the early 2000s, I think, or thereabouts, when I was in my 20s. My kids do love it as well. It is famous, but I don't think they have had any other success after that particular song. So I think we shouldn't hold our breath for another hit from Ozone from Romania.
No, it's one of those one-hit wonders. And I do want to get into your mentoring and women in the profession and whatnot, but Athol does have a question, and he has come in and said, I'd be interested to hear the views about the key differences between working as a solicitor and a barrister. Are the skills different, and what is the learning curve for someone wanting to make the shift to the bar? Great question, Athol, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ethel. Look, in principle, of course, the basics are the same. However, as a barrister, I think the main skill or the main component of our personality and practice to some degree is to not have fear. Do not have fear. And feel empowered to lead. I think that's an important thing for us at the bar, and understand that the decision, the main decision in the matter are yours, and therefore you will be responsible, whether good or bad. You are there to be responsible, you do have to have the capacity sometimes to understand whether you've made a mistake or not, and accept it and wear it and move on. So for us at the bar, I think sometimes it is difficult to accept a decision that went against your client, for example, especially if you personally had a different view of how the matter should have been resolved. But the lucky part, in a way, or the benefit being at the bar, is that we are so busy the next day it's another day in court, where probably if you are a solicitor, you wouldn't have potentially that many litigious matters, and that may stay with you for a lot longer than us at the bar. But of course, most of us, not all, but most of the barristers do come from the solicitors' ranks. And my view is that if a solicitor has done a bit of advocacy and they feel like they are equipped to take the next step, my advice always is think very wisely, make sure you have a bit of finance in the background to help you for the first few months in the bar, and then just move on and give it, your best. Don't let fears guide your professional life or your life in general.
It's a great point there, Anca. And I think many people are surprised when they become a sole trader or a business owner that it does take a good 12 to 24 months to get going. So preparing in advance is so important. That's a good point.
That's right.
Yeah, good one, Athol. But you are very passionate about empowering women in the profession. I'd love to talk more about that. What are you doing to empower the women in the profession?
Well, first of all, I think I make myself available to women that want to talk to me or spend some time with me, to, again, despite my time and my time constraints, again, I always make sure that I am able to give that time to them. I'm also always trying to have catch-ups on regular basis. As I said earlier, I'm invited to speak at various events, with the view that if I can make other women feel confident to take the next step in either applying for a particular role that they felt they weren't necessarily ready for, or even go to the bar, or take a particular role within the firm they are working in, it's always a benefit. So it's more of the way I always put it. It's always giving back to others. When I came to Australia 13 years ago, I didn't have that mentorship. I didn't know where to go to. I didn't know who to talk to. And when I came into a position where I could help others, I've always said to myself, I must do that, because if I can help one person at a time to not have to spend the same time or to go through the same hurdles as I did when I was starting in Australia in law, it's a huge, can make a huge difference to someone. And I had women from a diverse background doing their practical legal training with me in chambers, helping them move on, make contacts between them and other law firms in town. I have even mentees that now live overseas, and we still keep in touch. One is in Hong Kong, one is in Japan, and of course a few in Canberra. And it's probably the simple way of answering the question is giving them time and giving a bit of your experience. I don't think necessarily I can pass any wisdom, because I don't think I've necessarily reached it. But if I give a bit of my time and tell them how I've done things or how I would do things if I were them, it may help them to not have to go, as I said earlier, to the same process that I did, to take longer to reach a particular position in law.
And like you've mentioned it a few times, focusing especially on women of diverse background, what actually drives you to do that? Is that you yourself are from Romania, or you're endeared towards that?
Yeah, that's right. And I, again, what has sparked that was the fact that I was approached regularly by women saying that they couldn't even have their graduate diploma component, their practical component, to do that kind of part of their diploma in order to be admitted, it was almost impossible for them to find placements. And I felt, well, I can definitely help with that. And I was doing it even when I was a solicitor. I was getting the directors where I was working at the time to allow them to do paralegal work and again have some kind of work experience under your belt or under their belt, because when they, of course, they were new to Australia, they were just finishing their legal studies and had no they didn't know anyone that could actually assist them to further their career. And when you are able to have on one CV the fact that they worked in a law firm, either as paralegals or whatever the role would have been, at least they have some experience in Australia comparing to none. And they would have one referee comparing to none. So that was my drive behind making sure that, again, if I can help one of them, it potentially can make a difference. What, again, I say to all my mentees, and I had so far, I've lost track of them, but I keep in touch with many of them regularly, is to say, when you will be in a position such as mine, and I know that all of them will be in a position such as mine, to make sure that they will give forward, to make sure that they will have other people that will help, because that's how we can progress and help other women, not only women, but help other women in general, if, from a diverse background, to have a quicker way of achieving their professional goal, rather than having to go through many other hoops for a longer period of time. So I think my own experience definitely is one of the drivers behind helping others from a diverse background.
Amazing. And what would be your advice for women wanting to be called to the bar, aspiring women?
First of all, I think, again, what I said earlier, do not be fearful. Do not let fear drive you in any shape or form. At the bar, we do have to be fearless to some degree, but in the same time, kind. But if you feel that's your call, follow your call, because you don't want to be, later in your life, when probably the opportunity has passed, to regret it. Life at the bar is challenging at times, but on the same token, I think it's one of the best professions in the world. And I still haven't had a day at the bar when I wake up and I think, oh my God, what am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? Never. And I hope it'll never come.
I love that. Your passion exudes from you, Anca. I can feel it. You live for what you do, and I think that's very endearing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And when all is said and done, final question there, Anca. I don't want to put you on the spot, but when all is said and done in Anca Costin's life, how would you like to be remembered?
Kind, passionate, and somebody who tried to make a difference in people's lives. Whether I achieve that or not, I don't know. And I don't know to what degree it matters, as long as you put what you have best in you to make a difference, however you can.
Incredible. And I know from what you're talking about and meeting you in person and your clients, family, friends, you're already doing that. So well done. Where can people find you, Anca? Where's your hangout place? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Twitter? Is it Instagram?
LinkedIn.
Okay.
Only LinkedIn. That's the place you can find me. I do have a website. I created a website a while ago. And one of the things that I put on my website is that I do mentor people. And again, I had a few approaching me through that website, and it's more of a longer CV rather than a website per se. But yes, LinkedIn. And again, if people do want to chat with me after this or want to send me any questions, I'm more than happy to get in touch with them and answer their question in the private message.
Absolutely. I've got your website, ancacostin.com.au here. And Athel says that was a great answer to the question. So thank you. And Alma says it was a nice broadcast. So many people enjoyed it. And thank you so much for coming on, Anca.
My pleasure, definitely. It was a pleasure to have the chance to talk to you. And I always follow everything you do on LinkedIn, and you are very active. And I always envy you for being able to do all that on top of your work. And I know there's a baby coming as well. So you'll be a very busy man in a very short while.
I'm excited for the new journey there, Anca.
It will be absolutely fabulous.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. Well, thank you so much, Anca. Be sure everyone to stick around for the bonus question that I've got for Anca. But I'll get this sorted. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Have a great day and a great Wednesday. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining Law Live. Anca, bringing you back for the bonus question. If you could go back at any time in your life and give yourself advice, what age would you be and what advice would that be?
Will probably be around my late 20s when I moved to Australia to be with my now husband.
Shout out to the husband.
Yes, that's right. That's why I came to Australia. He's the reason I'm here. I will probably tell myself things will work out in the end. Just make sure you put the work in.
I love that. I wish there was a time machine that could do that, but I bet that advice would help. But that's fantastic. It'll all be okay in the end. And if it's not all right in the end, it's not the end.
That's right. And always we should not forget that if you do put the work in, things will work out. It has been shown to me times and times again. So I now believe that. As I said, in my 20s, I didn't. But now I think growing older, and my birthday is approaching, it's on Saturday, it will, growing older, sometimes we do get a bit wiser.
Happy birthday for Saturday. It's
Thank
the
you.
29 or 30, I think, coming up, right?
Yes, right. Thank you. Given that I did my first law degree in the late 90s, yes, for sure.
Very good, very good. Well, thanks again for joining, Anca, and everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes, thank you. My pleasure.
Thanks, Anca. Bye, everyone.